How's it going, guys? Welcome back or to the channel. My name is Mike if you're new around here, and today we're going to be going over the top 10 weak points or issues that might arise when you start off-roading your Jeep Wrangler. And today we're going to be specifically looking at the TJ, and I've been off-roading my TJ for the past 2 years now, and within that time I've pretty much broken almost everything on the Jeep, and I've learned which are the weak points and how to address them. Within that time, I've also upgraded everything that broke to something stronger, so I already know that that isn't going to be the issue in the future. So I'll show you guys which components I'm talking about specifically, because there are some things here that are crucial to off-roading that you're going to need to replace sooner than later. And I didn't know. I had to learn as I went, and I had to break down on the trail. So hopefully I can save you guys some time and some grief and a lot of headaches on the trail, because trust me, nobody likes being stranded, nobody likes being stuck, and especially when you're going out there to have a good time, you don't want to be dealing with breakdowns. So today we're going to be going over the top 10 items that I had to replace or fix or that broke down on me while out on the trails. If you're using your Jeep for regular use just on road, you don't really have to worry about too many of these items. I would still take a look at them just to see if they are actually wearing, if they need something changed, or if they need just attention at all. But that is for you to decide. If you're off-roading your Jeep though, I highly recommend that you go through this list and you make sure that all of these items are at tip-top shape, because you don't want to get stuck. The number one thing and the first thing that I'm going to mention is the control arm mounts. And I have basically broken off 4 out of 8 of my mounts. I've broken off the rears and the fronts. Funny enough, it was the lower rears and the upper fronts, but those are things that I did damage and I did break on the trail, and definitely you guys don't want to be stuck out there, because once that happens, chances are you're not going to be able to drive off the trail. So what I would do is I would upgrade my mounts, or at the very least inspect all my mounts and make sure that they're in good shape. So you can see here, this is my lower mount in the front. There's my upper control arm. It's a little hard to show you the upper control arm mount from the angle that I'm at, but I'll show you on the other side. Here is a new lower control arm mount in the rear. You can see how it is actually a little bit thicker than original, and it is a little bit more rigid because of that thickness, and that gives you that extra strength. But not only that, these love to fail at the welds, and if you are actually checking your frame or checking your Jeep, make sure you look at all the welds and you don't have any spider cracks or anything like that, because that's how my fronts failed. My fronts had a spider crack, and the mount started to slowly peel itself back until eventually it just gave up. And the bad thing about that is I wasn't checking it and I wasn't looking, so I didn't catch it in time and I had to break down on the trail. Now, I want you guys to not have that same experience, so just go out, take a look at all your mounts. And the other one that I had fail on me was this one. This mount here on the front axle gave up on me while I was on the trail. As you can see, I've replaced it with a much sturdier, much beefier piece from TMR, and this is a lot thicker, and hopefully it'll last us that much longer. You can see I've upgraded the mounts here as well, and here as well. You can see just how thick this one is. It's quite a beefy mount now, as well as the rears. Those are definitely items that you're going to want to check, because once that goes, your axle is going to start to twist, your axle isn't going to sit in place. If it's your rears, you're pretty much going to lose your rear drive shaft. If it's your fronts, you might lose your front drive shaft, or what happened for me is it rolled the other way, and I kicked out 2 of my bump stops and ripped off the mount on the opposite side when the control arm gave. So that brings me to my second point, control arms. Definitely check your control arms. I had my control arm brackets break on me, but I've also had a control arm snap on me right in the half. Right in the middle, I should say, actually. And it was this front one right here. It was actually this upper mount right here. This upper arm, I should say. This arm folded itself in half and just gave up and said it didn't want to live life anymore. That's because the way that they're designed is they have an open horseshoe design. They're not a full boxed arm. These are tubular arms, which I've upgraded to, which are probably the strongest that I could get at the moment until I get myself something like a long arm kit. But these tubular arms are substantially thicker, and they have a full tube all the way around. the stock arms are kind of like a horseshoe. They have an open bottom and they're hollow inside. That adds a lot of weak points, and when you're actually out there using your Jeep and thrashing your Jeep off-road, that's where it's going to fail. So I would definitely recommend upgrading your control arm mounts and your control arms at the same time. The next item on the list is radiator and cooling system. My radiator actually popped on me halfway up a hill while I was doing a climb, and that was no fun, believe me. But the radiator is very important because you will not be able to drive it further than about 5 minutes without it overheating. The issue with these is they get brittle and they get old, and my radiator cracked right along the actual top here. Now, I would recommend replacing your hoses, your radiator, and checking your water pump and your thermostat. I replaced my thermostat as well as the radiator and all of that, but any of those components, if they fail on you, and believe me, on a vehicle that's 20 years or 20 years plus of age, those things are definitely old and they can fail on you. So check those out, make sure you replace those, or you at least address them and make sure it's in good shape. At the very least, change your fluid, throw in some new hoses, because the hoses are probably like $8 or $10, and the fluid's not going to cost you much either. At least you'll know that you have that little bit extra peace of mind that you're not going to get stranded because of your cooling system. And believe me, once you get stranded because of that, it's a pain in the butt. You can't drive it, you can't really do much. You can limp it off the trail here and there, but you run the risk of damaging other components now because you're gonna get too hot very quick. The next thing that I'll mention is your axles. If you have a Sport or a Wrangler X, actually I'm not sure about the Wrangler X. I don't know if those still have a Dana 44 in the back. I know LJs have a 44 and the Rubicons have a 44. But if you're running a 35 and a 30 in the front like me, then definitely you're going to want to make sure you don't run too big of a tire, you don't want to run too large of a tire. 33s are what I'm running, and those are pretty much the maximum that you want to go to on a stock axle setup. Once you upgrade, then you can upgrade your shafts and you can possibly go to a 35. But one of the most crucial things that I would actually recommend you do before anything, even before upgrading your tires, is upgrade your axle breathers. And why is my hand over here by my radiator? Well, this is actually where I routed my front axle breather tube. I've got my front axle breather right here. You can see the tube. So that connects to the back of my axle, runs all the way up, and snakes itself into here. So this gives me that extra little bit of peace of mind that I'm not going to get too much into the axle breather tube. Obviously, I know that even being up here, there's a possibility of me getting water and mud in there. So I am going to get myself a cap, which I recommend you guys get. And what I mean by a cap is what I have here in the rear. So you can see I've also extended my rear axle breather. I need to get it up a little bit higher, but for now, it is what it is. You can see there's a little bit of a cap here. And what this cap does is it lets it breathe. So when I take it off, you can see there is air holes all the way around underneath this actual top cap right here. And that will let the air in and out without actually letting any mud in or out. You can see I have a little bit of dirt, so it's good to actually check these and it's good to make sure that they're clean. I blow mine out as often as I can, but sometimes, like you just saw, dirt does collect, so it's good to check them. I will take these and clean them out and blow them out. So make sure to actually extend your breathers, and if they're already extended, just check them, make sure that they're good, because the last thing you want to do is blow a seal, get some kind of water or some kind of dirt and debris inside there and make it even worse and mess something up inside the differentials. Item number 5, factory steering. Now, I'm not talking about the actual steering box. The steering box, if it's giving you issues, you can get a heavy-duty steering box. You can get one from a Durango, or they also make aftermarket heavy-duty steering boxes. But what I'm talking about is the drag link and tie rod. So you can see here's my tie rod. You can see just how thick that is compared to my thumb. The original one is probably a little bit thinner than my thumb, and it's hollow. Now, this bar is a solid bar, as well as having bigger ball joints and beefier ball joints. It gives you that solid bar for both your drag link and for your tie rod, which in turn gives you strength and stability. So if you have bigger tires like I do, this will help you not have as much death wobble or jerkiness, and just gives you a little bit better of a steering feel, a lot tighter of a steering feel than the stock stuff. But the biggest benefit to it is being able to go and take a beating. As you can see, I've already got a couple nicks and scratches on mine. When you do go off-roading and you do go out, chances are there's going to be a rock or something sticking up here or there that eventually is going to come into contact with something under here, whether it be the diff, the tie rod, the drag link, your control arm mounts, whatever it may be. Eventually, going off-road, you're going to bang something. And if you have a hollow bar here, definitely it's a lot easier to bend than a full solid steel bar. I believe that this one is 1.25 inches and the stock stuff is something like a 5/8 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it. But it is a lot stronger once you upgrade to a heavy duty steering. And once you upgrade to a heavy duty steering, at least you know you're not going to get stuck because you bent a tie rod or you bent your drag link off-road and you're not able to actually steer the Jeep straight to get it back home. Now, I'm not going to lie, that is probably one of the more expensive upgrades. It's probably around $800 to $1,000 in just the parts. But believe me, you will be thanking me once you do it, because it does save you a lot of headache on the trails. It gives you a lot better stability, a lot better steering, and taking a beating and getting beat up and getting bent up and being not able to get you home. Because the last thing you need is getting stuck on the trail. Number 6, track bars, front and rear. I know that both my track bars in the front and in the rear both gave up on me. Now, what a track bar does is it holds your axle in place from the frame to the axle, and it holds the axle from shifting side to side. Once those two ball joints on the end start to wear out on either end, your axle starts to shimmy and starts to move left and right as you're on the trail. And as you know, when you go on uneven surfaces and it starts to flex, one side of the vehicle wants to go one way, the other side of the vehicle wants to go the other way, and maybe the front is doing the opposite of the rear. So what happens then is the axle starts to shift and to slide in different directions, and it's fighting itself. It doesn't want to stay underneath the Jeep in center. And at that point, you start having all kinds of inconsistencies. It's easier to slip off a rock. It's easier to slip into a tree. It's easier to slip off a ledge if you're driving off by cliffs or anything like that. So definitely, it's important to have a good track bar. It's definitely important to check your track bars, front and rear, and make sure that everything is in tip-top shape and you don't have any kind of looseness or any kind of play or anything like that. Because believe me, I drove around with a, not broken, but a worn-out track bar for quite a bit. And it makes a world of a difference once you actually get a new one in there. And number 6, skid plates. I've already replaced both my gas tank skid plate back here and my transmission skid plate over here. Both of those I bent up and I beat up off-road and they got demolished. Now, I replaced mine with OEM stock ones. Don't do that. The reason I say don't do that is mine are already beat up, already after, I'd say, about 6 months on the trail. They're destroyed. The middle one, or the transmission one, I've had for maybe 3 months, and I've already bent it to the point where I'm getting driveline vibes again because it's so weak. That could be because I don't have enough of a lift. That's another issue, that's another story. I do need to lift a little bit more, but I can only do what I can do with the time and the money that I have, so it will get built sooner than later, but we need to wait a little bit longer. So for now, I would say upgrade your skid plates with something stronger, because take a look at mine. You can see it's already taken quite a beating here in the middle, and it's already scraped up in many places along the ridges, and it's just taken a beating. And definitely, if I had a stronger one or just a low profile one, it would help a lot more. So I'm definitely going to look into that. But even the middle one, which is substantially thicker, I've already bent out of shape. You can see along this edge here and some spots underneath, it is already getting bent out of shape. Nothing I can really do but stop off-roading, which I'm not gonna do. So we're gonna get ourselves some stronger plates, some stronger skids, and we should be good to go. But like I said, if you're upgrading your skid plates, or even if you're just going to replace them, don't replace them with OEM units, upgrade them. Make sure you get better ones, thicker ones. Like I said, mine have already bent within 6 months of me putting in new ones. So as you can see, after only 6 months, I've already bent mine out. If I got aftermarket ones and I got thicker ones, I'm sure they would last me a little bit longer than 6 months. But with the off-roading I do and the size of lift I have and the trails I take, it's inevitable that I'm gonna be hitting the skids. But I think that the skids should last you a little bit longer. They are called skid plates. They are made for you to use. So hopefully we can get ourselves something a bit stronger. I will be making a video on that. I'll be giving you guys a recommendation and a review of my new skid plates and what I choose to get. If you guys have any recommendations for me, let me know. But definitely those are a weak point, and those are something that you should check on and address, because my rear one, I got it to the point where there was a giant hole in it and it almost tore itself off on the trail because it caught on a rock. And yeah, so just check those, make sure they're not rusted, make sure you don't have any holes in them or anything like that, and just take a look, just make sure that they're in good shape. And like I said, if you do go to change them, upgrade them. Number 7, this isn't really a mechanical thing or a really crucial thing, but it is something that you will notice and you will probably want to address, and it is all your rubber seals. Now, I'm talking about the rubber seals here, the rubber seals around the trunk, the rubber seals around your doors, and the rubber seals around your roof. All of those dry out, and all of those like to get brittle and like to start to let air pass through. And that's when you get a lot of wind noise and a lot of squeaking and a lot of just no good noises. The best thing that you can do is check all of your weather stripping, check all of your rubber, and if you can, go and get yourself like a rubber care or some kind of a rubber moisturizer, which they sell at auto parts stores, and just make sure you go over all of your rubber, because once you start going off-road, all the mud and all of the dirt and all of that stuff will dry them out 10 times quicker, and you will see that you're gonna have leaks from water, from wind, you're gonna have noises. And once it starts to rain and you're out there and it starts to rain inside your Jeep, you're definitely gonna want to make sure that you check your weather stripping before it rains the next time, because trust me, nobody likes getting wet inside their vehicle. And my next point, the notorious Jeep windshield. These things love to go on you, they love to crack, they love to break, and it's just because of the angle that they're at. The way that they are, it's hard for any rocks to kind of bounce off. When a rock goes into it, it kind of hits, and it doesn't have much room to deflect. It just has a lot of absorption into the actual glass, and that means that all the energy is transferred to your glass instead of the rock being bounced off and ricocheted somewhere else, which causes rock chips and other issues. As you can see, I've got a rock chip here, but it isn't actually a full rock chip to where it cracked. If you do have cracks, address them right away. Get those rock chips filled in, because once you have a little rock chip and you start going off-road and the Jeep flexes and this side of the Jeep wants to do one thing and that side wants to do another, that's when you start getting those hairline cracks, and that's when you start getting those big cracks. So definitely check anything before you go off-road and make sure you don't have any little nicks or anything that could spread or get bigger and just make a full crack. The other thing I'll mention about the windshield is the windshield frame. As you can see, I had a little bit of rust repaired right here. The windshield frame loves to rust in the corners, on the hinges, especially along the sides and along the bottom right there. That's because this rubber starts to go out. And like I said, if you don't check all your rubbers, you're gonna start getting water leaking inside, you're gonna start getting dirt inside. And once you get water behind all of your rubbers, that's when rust wants to start, because water doesn't drain out properly once it sits behind a weather stripping. It kind of sits there and pools there, and it's no good for the vehicle. And last but not least, rust. And why am I mentioning rust? Well, because when you start taking it off-road and you start going off-roading, you're gonna get a lot more rust and a lot more just quicker formation of rust, because mud and dirt love to sit in places you can't see, and they love to hold moisture, and that is what creates that rust, especially because there's rocks and there's nasty stuff in dirt that creates abrasions and scratches your paint and goes down to the metal and starts rust. The main areas that you would have to check, or you want to keep your eye on, would be around the wheel wells here, inside the back here, and I'm talking about actually inside. You want to make sure you clean out in here, because between your wheel well and between here there is a little bit of a separation, and that separation loves to hold mud and dirt and water and all kinds of crap. So make sure you wash out in there. Obviously check your frame, clean the frame. The front fenders, they love to rust, and the sides here. So that's why I have mine coated, so that it doesn't start rusting, but I already had rust on the other side, so that's why I did both sides. But those are areas that you're definitely going to want to address and definitely going to want to check. As you can see on my other side, I've already got a couple bumps and bruises from trees and rocks. And if you don't address these right away, you will start getting rust holes and rust spots and just nothing good for your Jeep. Basically, wash your Jeep, clean your Jeep, and make sure that you go out there and actually get all that dirt and all that mud that you can find off. Because even if you leave it for a little bit, it helps that rust start and it just continues going from there. That's my top 10 items of what you should keep your eye on, or what is a weak point on the Jeep TJ or the Jeep Wrangler in general, but mostly the Jeep TJ. So if you guys are going out there and you want to start off-roading, or you've already started off-roading your Jeep TJ, go out and check these 10 items just so that you don't get stranded and you don't get stuck, because trust me, I've gotten stuck more times than I can tell you, and it's not fun. Nobody wants to go out there for a good time and end up having to fix a bunch of stuff, repair their Jeep, and not be able to drive home. None of that stuff is fun, and if you're out there alone, it gets even worse and it starts to get dangerous. So trust me, check all your stuff over as often as you can and replace whatever you can. I've hopefully given you guys a solution to everything I've mentioned. If there's anything that I missed, let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to help you guys out. But trust me, I've gone through it. I've broken so many things on this Jeep that I don't even want to tell you. If you guys want to see everything I've broken, you can check all my past videos. But trust me, I've gone through almost everything on this Jeep. And at this point, I can confidently tell you that those are the top 10 items that you should check so you don't get stuck. So guys, I think that's about gonna cover it for today. I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about those 10 items. Like I said, if I missed anything, ask me in the comments section. Let me know what you guys want to know. I'm happy to answer your questions. If you guys are new around here, jump down there, hit that subscribe button, because there's tons more coming your way. We will be taking this thing off-road next week, and it's gonna be a good one. There's gonna be a bunch of us, and we're gonna be going to that off-road trail where I got stuck and everything went down, and I got stuck overnight. So definitely we're gonna go back and hopefully conquer that trail and not have that happen again, and have a good time this time. Because even though we had a good time in the beginning last time, it ended off on a bad note, and I want to go back and have a good time and conquer that trail. So if you guys are looking forward to that, then jump down there, hit that subscribe button, because definitely that video is coming to you guys soon. And if you guys want to do that meetup, for anybody that is a current subscriber, I am planning to go back to Ardbeg this weekend. So if you guys want to come out for that meetup, let me know. Drop a comment, let me know in the comment section, or jump on Instagram and message me on Instagram, because I will be out there most likely on Saturday. So if you guys want to meet up with us, there will be a few of us out there, and we're happy to take you guys out on the trail. So until then guys, ride safe out there. Peace.